We're live.
We're live. Where's my music? Damn it. No.
Cody, you got some explaining to do.
Come on, Cody. What are you doing, bro? Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast, and we're back with another Wrestling with Purpose. It's weird to have two back-to-back Wrestling with Purpose, but we wanted to get our guest on the board for this. Next to me is my boy, Reek. Thank you for jumping on, Rico. How you feeling, man? I know you've been sick.
A little bit better.
But our guest tonight, he's been with the promotion called TCW XCW in 1998, writing articles for their website through 2002. He started with the CWF in 2003. He calls Rob Jesus Freak one of his best friends. The conversation all the time. Welcome to the show, Ref Albert Luna. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well today. Doing very well. I'm a huge fan of this show. I don't know if y'all knew that, but
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
A little bit backdrop from this story of this show. It's been it was supposed to be just a wrestling show, right? You know,
Yeah.
Christian Wrestling Federation. I was like, let's take a chance. I'm a believer. My boy Rico, we're believers in Jesus, and with everything like that. And I was like, what people are going to watch Christian Wrestling Federation? And my wife says to me, she goes, Scott, does that matter, or what does your heart say? My heart says, let's give it a shot, you know. And I reached out to Rob Vaughn, and the rest is history. And man, it's been a blessing for myself. I know Rico's been blessed by the conversations we've had, and it's just it's amazing. So I'm welcome to the show. I'm glad you were able to come on tonight.
thank you. And I think we've all everyone that's been involved with the CWF or like Christian wrestling in general, like we've all taken that chance, right? Like we've all taken that shot of, you know, making that phone call, making that connection, just going for it and taking that shot. And like it's a blessing, man.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So obviously, you know, we all grew up fans of wrestling. Maybe not all of us, but we grew up watching the Hulk Hogan's, the Macho Man's, the Ultimate Warriors, Saturday Night's Main Event. What was it like growing up for a kid as a wrestling fan?
I think for me, like, I just always remember this kid named Mike, and he said, this was like in 1988, and he's like, man, you look like Tito Santana, right? And I look like Rick Martel. Like, we could be Strike Force. And I was like, what are you talking about, right? And he kind of explained to me, kind of like, well, you don't know Strike Force? You don't know Tito Santana and Rick Martel? And I was like, no. And then he kind of explained to me, and I was like, oh man, I gotta watch this show, right? So I started watching wrestling about 1988, 89. Obviously when Strike Force was around, and man, just fell in love with it, right? And started watching some WWF videos, things like that. A couple years later, I moved to Arkansas, right? And I lived in Arkansas for 1 year, and I went to school and I started talking about wrestling, and this kid's like, what are you talking about WWE? Like, you know, I like the Steiner brothers. I like Ric Flair. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what is this? Oh, man, NWA, WCW. And so I went home, watched that, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much like good wrestling. And just seeing like Ric Flair come out in that robe and stuff like that. And also living in Puerto Rico, like I was able to kind of see like living in Puerto Rico, like when I was very, very young, and then 1 year when I was 10 years old. And then it was just kind of like all this wrestling, and I just fell in love with all these styles and saw how different it was. And that's what kind of made me fall in love with it.
Okay.
Oh man, yeah, you get to see oh man, just Rick Martel, that just takes me back right there. That character, wow. What was that the match he had with what's it says? Was it Jake the Snake?
Oh, the blindfold.
Yes, the blindfold match.
Yes.
Oh man, that guy used to always crack me up.
Yeah.
Always come out just spraying.
Yeah.
Blinded,
Yeah.
Jacob, right? The X was called.
Right.
Yeah, what was that called? I can't remember.
You know, he had the little perfume sprayer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned you were a WCW fan, right?
Oh, I like the WCW as well. I know Phil's a big CW fan as well.
Right. So I know Cody is backstage there. He'll like this question. It's a trick question. It's a TikTok question, but I have to ask it because that's where I started, was in TikTok. I don't do that anymore, but that's where I took this question from there. As a fan of WCW, who would you say is the greatest WCW champion to ever live?
Like my mind just goes to Ric Flair.
Okay.
Remember, he said trick question.
Trick question. Ron Arquette. Ron Arquette.
David Arquette.
David Arquette. Sorry, I got that wrong. See, Cody, jump in here, Cody. David Arquette. I blew that all up. David Arquette. Yeah.
So weird to me. Like, no, it was weird. I feel like it was a desperate move, but
Yeah. So edit that, Cody, please, in the back.
So, because you said you started watching about 88, 89 around that time.
yeah.
So were you watching the Survivor Series in 1990 when you got the introduction of The Undertaker?
Yeah. So I remember they were hyping it up with the egg, right?
Yes, the mysterious egg.
And it was kind of like a bomb. Like I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But I remember they had that mystery. I think it was DiBiase's team had the mystery partner, and they came out, and he comes out. First thing I think of is, oh man, that's me, Mark Callis from WCW. So he was just with WCW. I remember because he replaced Sid Vicious in the Skyscrapers for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
It amazes me how they said, "Oh, nobody will pay to come see you."
Oh, that's a chicken, right? Or yeah, with WCW, yeah.
So the elephant in the room is what we talked about earlier. So we get through this, and then so we get on with the rest of the interview. WWE has us fans all up in an uproar. They want to see Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. They may see Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. They may see Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Who knows? No one really knows. What is your take on the whole thing? Is it a swerve? Will we as fans be going, oh, because let's face it, WWE needs to do something to get huge pops out of their fans.
I think it's just kind of getting people to talk, right? Yeah. I think it's just something that this is even crossed over to like mainstream media. And so people are talking about it, especially with the whole, merging with TKO and being public things. I think it's just kind of, they're trying to get into the mainstream media, just hyping up WrestleMania. I don't know if everything's so concrete. Like personally, like me, I don't feel like everything's so concrete with it. But I'm interested to see kind of what happens. I don't know if it's completely official, but we'll see what happens.
Now you believe, Rico?
So let's go Royal Rumble. How did we all feel about the Royal Rumble? You guys watched it, right?
Horrible.
I mean, because it wasn't terrible.
No.
But for one of the first pay-per-views on the road to WrestleMania, it really wasn't that good.
Right.
So how are we going to improve that? We want WrestleMania to be huge. So let's go ahead and throw this big curveball in this storyline and just get everybody in the uproar. Because look at for the past, I think it's 3 days straight now. It's been the number one talked about in social media. So this story is just blowing up, going crazy. Like I said, I said this before. I truly believe Cody's going to go against him, possibly at Elimination Chamber. Possibly. And then it will be The Rock against Roman because The Rock's going to help Cody. Because Cody said, I'm coming after everything you have, but not at WrestleMania.
I don't know, man. They want him to beat Hogan's record. There's not going to be an elimination. They won't take the belt off him at Elimination Chamber. That'd be stupid.
But look how many things they've proven us wrong on. So
they have. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure Triple H will do what's best for business.
And that's exactly it. You know, they may have him surpass Hogan. What would that be at? September. So do you see him holding on to the belt that long?
Nobody wants to see that. No.
He's going to do what's best for business.
Has to be such a big event, like it has to be bigger than just Elimination Chamber.
I feel like it needs to be WrestleMania because this is one of the longest reigning champions we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You need to lose it at WrestleMania.
Sure,
but
we'll see.
They've done different things, so I don't know. What's your take, Huge Pop?
I just think that I see what you're saying about Elimination Chamber, but I think it needs to be bigger than Elimination Chamber. I think it either needs to be SummerSlam or it needs to be WrestleMania. And I don't know. I'm tired of the whole story. I guess to put bluntly, it's been 3.5 years. It's time for it to be done. So maybe Elimination Chamber. I don't know.
I think it would make more sense SummerSlam.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know because that's not. You have one more month, so. Yeah. Man, it could go to Survivor Series.
Good. It could. That'd be cool. So our guest is a referee. Do you still ref to this point in time, or have it over with, or?
Man, I hate to say that it's over. I really do. Man, just kind of being a family man and spending time with my family and things like that has kind of taken a little bit more priority. Yeah. I mean, I may do I may have to schedule certain things if they have a big show and they reach out to me, I'll see if I can make it happen. Never say never. Things can always change.
Hey, that's the same thing Mark Calloway said. Never say never.
Never know. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely love to do it again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So doing the referee, you play a big part, especially with the heels, kind of helping out with the story, being distracted while they do their thing. Is that kind of that's always kind of a big part of the referee?
Yeah, and it's always kind of really good to kind of build rapport with these wrestlers, because for instance, when Phil was a heel, if he ever put a figure four on someone and things like that, I knew to kind of look at the crowd when they were screaming because he would always grab the ropes, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he grabbed the ropes, people would scream, and I'd go right to the crowd. And then that would allow him to kind of, do some more stuff and things like that. So it was really important to kind of work really well, especially with heels and things like that. That way it allows them to basically do certain things without me looking, or if I need to be in the right position, they can just say a single word like bump or look or something like that, and I knew exactly where to look. If they say bump, I knew what corner to be in, and things like that. So it was really good to kind of build rapport with the faces and the heels especially.
You said bump. So did you before you become a referee, did you have to get into the ring and feel what it feels like to have a bump? Because obviously we see it on TV. There's interference where they throw the ref in front and you get bumped. Did you have to have that experience before that they would let you be a referee at CWF or wherever?
So I think it's a good idea to learn how to bump, how to go over the rope, things like that. I just kind of took it upon myself to, get in there with them a little bit and learn how to bump a little bit, learn the psychology of maybe going over the rope. Because sometimes, when they throw you over the rope, if you hold on too long, you're going to pull your shoulder. If you don't hold on enough, you may get hurt and things like that. So I kind of took it upon myself to learn a little bit of bumping, a little bit of just psychology, how to, get thrown over the rope. Like whenever I took a bump, how to kind of just sell it really well, the timing of the sell, when to get up, things like that. Because, if you bumped, but then you got to like wake up and you got to make the count, you can't just immediately be like wide awake, right? You got to kind of transition to a certain point.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So you obviously stated you're a fan early age. When did you want to get into the business?
I never, I never was a kid that was like, one day I want to be a wrestler, or one day I want to be a ref or anything like that. I think when I started going to these shows like in '98, and started like writing on I don't know if you remember message boards, like they had these message boards. I started writing on message boards, and then they allowed me to kind of write some articles on their website and things like that. And I was around the wrestlers, around the backstage, and never wanted to train and things like that. When I contacted Rob in the CWF, I just wanted to help out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we took a trip to Kentucky, and it was like, hey, where's your referee? Like, you don't have a referee. And he's like, well, we don't have a referee, but we're going to use this kid right here. And so one of the wrestlers was like, dude, if you can't lead ref, I don't, we don't want this kid ref. And I was like, okay. So I talked to Rob. I was like, hey, if you need me to ref, I can ref, And so I refed. Ironically, my first match reffing was with Lash LaRue in the ring. And so it's like, oh my goodness, like I'm going in, like my first reffing is against this guy that was like from the power plant and, was in WCW and things like that. And so kind of got through that. And then Rob talked to me afterwards, and he's like, hey, I want you to start, reffing and things like that. And so I started kind of working with the guys to, learn how to, bump a little bit, learn the psychology, learn rapport, learn how to work around like different types of matches. I remember early on, we had a lot of like triple threats, right? And so I kind of had to like learn how to like, maneuver around with a triple threat, things like that. And then I started like really wanting to like learn the craft, right? And so I started studying a lot of like this referee called Tommy Young, who's an old NWA ref.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about like positioning, how he positioned himself in the ring, kind of how he stays back, just his emotions and his arms and things like that. So I started really studying Tommy Young, and other referees as well. But just kind of like started just studying and working some veteran as well.
One of my favorite. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna pretty much because you got like, have you ever accidentally gotten in the way of somebody and almost got taken out, like if they're going up against the ropes?
Yeah, I mean, there's been times like early on when they're like, move out of the way, or do this. And I remember one time, like I was in a match with Dr. Dusty Williams, right? And we had discussed a thing where he's like, hey, before the match, he was telling me, hey, I'm gonna come in during this. He goes, I need you to push me back, hold me back, right? So the time comes in the match, he comes out, and mind you, he had cancer this time, and he was probably the strongest person I've ever been in the ring with, and just kind of like he was like pushing me. I was trying to push him back. So that point on, he was like, man, like sometimes like with these guys, sometimes I really have to like push them, like push them back, or I mean, there's been times that like when I'm doing my count and they're in the corner, like sometimes I'm like, I mean, I'll slap them in the back, like, oh, come on, you got to come back. I'm getting 5. So just kind of being like real like stern with them, being just real strong, and obviously these guys could be a lot bigger than me. So, but I have to be the law, right? So, kind of have to have like a strong, firm voice. If I'm pulling them back, I'm pulling them back hard, and just kind of working with them.
You've been there with 10 years, 10, 12 years now?
Yeah, I was with them for 10 years straight. And then
so were you ever able to be in the ring with like the guys like Lodi, Scotty Matthews, AJ Styles, Chad Lyle, all those guys that came through there? And if so, who was the one who would probably be the, if you want to say starstruck, that you were, oh my God, I'm in the ring with him?
Well, first of all, when Rob invited me out to a show, AJ Styles was on the show, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I know AJ Styles, right, from these indies and things like that. I didn't ref that, but I got to meet him there. Later on, though, back in 2011, 2011, I was AJ had told Rob like, hey, and he was in the middle of his like TNA run. He's like, I want to do CWF. I'm going to do the, and so I'm going to do the show. And so we had an anniversary show, and he came out, and he teamed with Angel against, I believe it was Tim Storm and APOC or Adam Asher. And I was able to kind of, that's when I was like really, and I've already been there like almost 10 years, and just, I was like real starstruck to just be in there with AJ Styles. And that was the year he was PWI #1 too.
Wow. That'd be cool.
And so
you
that
kind of gotta like hold back.
yeah, that's the guy that I was really struck. I was in the ring one time with Elijah Burke one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit starstruck then.
Yeah. I heard stories about the Elijah Burke. You guys had a great interaction and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Cool.
So is there any match that like a dream match, I guess you would say, that you wish that you could have refed? You could have been involved in any way?
With CWF guys or
any company?
Any company. I think it's I think a dream match would have been kind of probably Jesus Freak and AJ, because one, I loved like just being in the ring with AJ, the things that he does, and that's pretty cool. And just Jesus Freak just being kind of one of my favorite people of all time, and it really changed my life. And I always loved being in the ring with. I love being in the ring with everyone, but it's always special to be in the ring with certain guys like Jesus Freak, Phil, Dennis, and guys that I kind of like started out with, and they had like that long run with me. I've always like just being in the ring with them, and it's great, being AJ. Capri Coleman is another guy I love with because he's so smart.
Mm-hmm.
He was on there last week, wasn't he, Rico? Was it last week?
Yeah, I think it was last week. Yep.
Oh, he is just, he just transitioned. Like, we need to transition. He's just so smart in transitioning certain things. And, man, I just trust everything he says he's going to do. And like, he doesn't miss a lot. So he's a special guy.
Yeah, he was pretty cool when we had a chance to interview him. So,
mm-hmm.
So are you a fan of the Bible Club?
I am. I really like what they're doing. I think because it's not like, I don't feel like it's a ripoff of like Bullet Club or NWO or things like that. Like, I think it's so like what they're doing is so special and has its own story and has its own meaning, and I love it.
Yeah, Luke 9 just joined them about 6 months ago. So that was
yeah.
Rico.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So let's talk about fans. I know you're a ref, and I know we asked these questions to the wrestlers, but you must play a really good part. I mean, Rico touched on it a little bit, but fan interaction. How important are the fans to you, to CWF, and how CWF comes together as a whole? for the fans and for what the purpose of CWF.
Yeah, it's great. I love the fans. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain, but like just the energy sometimes, like would just kind of like feeds the match, right? So if they're hot, the wrestlers get hot. I get kind of like energy, and I don't like blow up, especially like when I'm doing like 5 matches in a day. So like it just kind of gives me energy. It also like helps us out a lot because if someone's getting like rowdy and things like that, like the heel can kind of face off with them, and then like sometimes they're like, hey, this guy's not looking at me right? Go kick him out or whatever, or go say something to him. And so like I'll turn to that ref and like, or not the ref, the fan. I'll be like, hey, what's going on over here? In that split second, it's like eye poke behind my back.
Yeah.
Man, but it's always special, like seeing the same faces, and things like that. I did a match, I don't say like 5-6 months ago. I did a Phil's retirement match, and man, when I saw these people that I've seen from 2003, 2004, like I got like goosebumps. Man, just the fact that like they were there and they're just so welcoming and having fun. I mean, it was just awesome. So yeah, the fans play an important role. And it's always like, as we kind of go to these churches and camps and things like that, like you never know what to expect. Like sometimes you think like you're going to these docile crowds, and then it's just like like it's just like they get raucous and just crazy, and I love it, man. I love it when you don't expect it, and they're on their feet and they're enjoying it, because I mean, I'll just put out there, it is not like, it is good wrestling. Like it is not like cheesy. It is not like bad like wrestlers. Like it is good action, and that's the one thing that I've always taken pride in with CWF is Rob really kind of expects guys go out there and just kind of give a good performance, and they always do. Like it's just really good wrestling.
Right. Now you mentioned something, because I have a feeling a lot of wrestling fans, when they hear the word Christian in front of Wrestling Federation, they're like freaked out. Oh, that's got to be garbage. But I watched several events. You're right. You guys have amazing talent. Even the guys that aren't the AJ Styles, you have all the guys from the Bullet Club. You have JT, you have Jesus Freak, you have all these guys that Bam Malone, I think, right?
Oh yeah, Bam Bam.
All those guys, and they put on a heck of a show that I think fans don't realize, because they hear that word Christian and then just shut it off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish people would understand that it's wrestling and it's good wrestling, and it's just
Yeah. I mean, I always, like when I first started, like I always had this fear that we'd go these places and people would be expecting us to like dress up like David or Samson.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it's really like, and I'm coming, like when I first started with CWF, I was kind of like, I saw a lot of like out other companies, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is as good or better than some of these other shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like great like way to like for people to like invite people like, hey, I don't want to Bible thump, but this is a great show and you should come and just check it out, right? Because it's some good action.
Mm-hmm. They probably hear the word Christian, they start thinking, oh, here we go, kumbaya, and they're just going to be sitting around talking, maybe a little wrestling, and that's what some people just think of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good wrestlers that happen to be Christians.
Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about like getting excited, get the goosebumps stuff, is there any like which wrestler would you say is that no matter how many times you've watched them come out, you still get those goosebumps yourself? When their music starts playing and you got to fight back, you're just like, okay, man, this is awesome. You get to see that person come out to the ring.
I think it's guys that just have like a really good like just like fan following like within like the fans of CWF. Like Jesus Freak and like Phil and Angel. Angel was very popular back then. Chris Idol, Tim Storm. Later on in his career, I mean, people just like loved him and kind of saying just, the NWA champion at the time would come out sometimes. But what really gives me goosebumps is whenever like we told a really good story and it was kind of like the last match kind of going into it, and I knew that these guys were going to give it their all and go at it. I'd be in the ring first, and I could not wait because I knew it was going to be a good match. Where there was a really good like feud with Angel and Mike Watts, Shiloh back in the days, and I just remember like I knew these guys were just going to go at it, and I just remember like just having these like being so ready for this match and being so ready for everyone to kind of experience what was about to go on. And they came out, and that was a really, really good match. And that was probably like 2006, 2007, 2008. And I know it was a while ago, but man, just kind of seeing great storylines just come to a head, and just knowing like these guys are gonna give it their all.
So how hard was that for you to kind of like fight the fan inside you to sit back and, do your job instead of just...
It does, because you want to spectate, right? And so it's kind of like, oh, okay, I gotta get in here. And so I think in my mind, because I always had a really good match, I just kind of want to spectate, especially in like cruiserweight matches, things like that, where they're coming from all over the place. So that's when I would just kind of like, I would talk through the whole match, and I would be like, and just kind of like, hey, you can do this, and come on, let's do it. Come on, get back in the ring, and and just kind of be a little bit more animated, and make sure that like I wasn't spectating.
I don't know if I can do it. I know that Rico and I have been talking to Rob Vaughn and JT and them guys about trying to come out to see to Dallas in 2024, early 2025, to do some commentary with Beard and all them guys, whatever. And I don't know if I could. I mean, I want to get there, but I think I'd be fan struck to be in presence of these guys that I'm like, oh my god, So yeah. I think it'd be pretty hard for me to keep myself, but I'd have to do it. So I'm excited about that. But.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as a ref, I know there's the wrestlers help set up the ring and to chairs. It's called paying it back. As a ref, do you believe in brotherhood? Do you believe in paying it back in the things you do?
Oh yeah. I've definitely put together hundreds of rings. And then like what we call trailer duty, right? So sometimes a guy has to be in the back, in the trailer towards the back, kind of guiding things in, and you can get really hot. And I've done my share of trailer duty before. But I don't know if you knew like oh man, Ron, is it Major Inconvenience or Ron? Do you know Ron?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so Ron, one thing I love about him is he always would go in there, and he'd always like want to be in the trailer duty, and he was always so helpful, man. And that kind of took a lot of decisions from a lot of people that wanted to do that. So shout out to Ron for always doing that trailer duty. And I always showing up early, staying late, cleaning up, taking out the trash, picking up chairs, meet and greets, like that. So there's always, as a referee, it's you do your same share as the wrestlers. So
kind of there helping put up, tear down, put everything away. So so you said you're officially retired, no more?
I don't want to say officially, but it's hard with my family.
All right, gotcha. What was the last match that you refed?
I'm not sure what the last match I reffed was when I was like consistent with it. But then I came back and I reffed a camp show one time, and that was special because that was Chris Angel, and Rob and Phil and JT, and those are guys I love being in the ring with. And if that was gonna be my last match, I was like, okay, that's a good one to end on because 4 guys. Then I came back a couple years later, kind of about 6 months ago, and I did Phil's retirement match, and that was special because I did his first match as well.
Nice.
Oh.
So and I always love being in the ring with Mike, Watt, Shiloh, and Phil, and man, that was special. Like when I counted 3, like I was emotional.
Yeah.
They probably don't know it, but I was like, I think it was just emotional. It was just kind of like knowing it's Phil's last match, but also like I loved being in there. It's a ring. Sometimes when you have a bad day, that ring can be a comfort. For me.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. I think I say this all the time. I use this podcast as a escape from reality. I mean, taking care of 8 foster kids in the emergency shelter, that I can come back for an hour and 15, hour and a half to escape reality. I'm all for that. So I completely understand, And Phil, talk about Phil. I can't remember him on the podcast, Rico. I think it was Phil. He hates the Bible Club. Well, we serenaded him several times with the Bible Club song, and it was
I think that was you.
Well, it was funny, but of course I do take care of foster kids. So if you have a second to answer some kid questions, it's just a shoot thing. You ready?
Let's do it.
Favorite food?
Favorite food? I think it's gonna be. I love chicken enchiladas. Okay. I really do.
If you have pizza, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Just say yes.
I'll answer it 2 ways. I don't like it on my pizza, but I'm not gonna be mad if you have it on your pizza.
Okay. Favorite book?
Favorite book is the Bible.
Favorite show? TV show?
Favorite TV show? Oh man, that's a good question. I love like documentaries. So I was really 30s, and like just sports documentaries.
Favorite potato chip?
Favorite potato chip. Has to be made of a potato, right?
I don't have to. I mean,
it's. I'm a big like. I would say like probably sour cream and onion. Okay. I love dipping it chips and dips.
Yeah, get that queso dip.
Oh, I love
it.
I don't know why, but one of my little girls says, "What does he do the first thing he gets out of bed?"
I open up my eyes.
Okay. Good answer.
Favorite sports team?
Favorite sports team is probably the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, interview over.
We're done. We can't talk no more. Sorry.
Lions fans
here, okay?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Refs. You know what it takes to be a ref, right?
Yeah.
They missed the boat when we were in Dallas. That's all I gotta say about that. Your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. I would put Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and oh man, who would I put up there? Maybe Hogan. Okay. Just for showmanship.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the kids' questions.
So I want to continue that Mount Rushmore, but let's do it with refs.
With refs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great question. I would put Tommy Young up there. Probably Bronco Lubitsch, the old world-class referee. I really like what Charles Robinson is doing or did. And then another one is probably Hebner. He's done a lot of classic matches.
Yeah.
And he was able to kind of, if he needs to kind of go in the storyline or out of the storyline, he was really good into that.
Which ref was the ref of that for WWE that or WWF running down this ramp on the fall flat on his face? What was that? Remember that?
Who was that?
Who was that?
Oh my goodness,
Cody. Who was that, man?
I don't know who that was.
He's a little short dude, wearing a blue. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm on it.
Got it. Okay.
I gotta know now. That's gonna bother me.
Yeah.
CWF. It's been a big part of your life as a ref. So can you talk about the part? Yeah. So I first got to ask you: Are you from Egypt?
I'm not from Egypt.
Because you speak the native language, so I would like to know why people would ask that question. Is there a story behind that?
Yeah. So when we went to Egypt, I was kind of rocking. Probably my beard was a little bit too long,
Okay.
and a lot of people thought I was Egyptian. We took a trip. We took a trip to the museum, and no lie, people were asking me questions
Really?
for certain things and things like that. And so I had to learn a phrase in Egypt, and it was "Animi America," which means "I am from America" in Arabic. So maybe I should have shaved while I was down there. But yeah, a lot of people thought I was from Egypt when I was down there. So I would get a lot of people that would come up to me and just either speak to me in Arabic or ask me where certain things were.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Charles Robinson was the ref.
Yeah, I just saw that too. It just came up for me. Yep, WrestleMania 24. He came running down. I mean, but not as famous as Titus O'Neil. No, the boom slides underneath the ring.
That's funny. Yeah.
I was very close to hitting this like metal beam too, from what I've heard. Titus.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So how close and personal is your bond with the president and founder Rob Vaughn?
Man, it's great, man. I just he changed my life, man. I don't know if I've told a lot of people this story, but I was in. They had a story in People magazine one time, just a quick little story. I remember reading it, and I reached out to Rob one time, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm interested in doing this," and then I called him as well. And no lie, he was in the middle of a Rangers baseball game, and he called me back.
Really?
I would never call anyone back while I'm at a baseball game. He called me back, and he says, "Hey, man, I'm so glad that you're interested. Come check out this show." And then whenever we traveled, we roomed a lot together. And I mean, there's so many times that like I just needed something, whether it's a voice to talk to, or just putting it out there. Like sometimes I just need like maybe a little bit of money for gas, to get back home. He was always there for me, man. He was always there with his ear, man. And just, I know we're both men, but like just sometimes he'd be there with just like a hug, just kind of give me like, "Hey, it's going to be okay." Like, I mean, he was always there for me. He's such a great guy, man. He's always there with good words and advice and things like that.
Okay. Rico?
So, got any crazy road stories? Things that happen behind the scenes?
Crazy road stories. I think I always had like bad luck with like food and things. Like whenever we left, like we like stop at like truck stops and things like that. And this one time we stopped off at a Love's gas station, and they had a Carl's Jr., right? And so a lot of times, you know, we have to order food and get back in the van and go. So I order a burger. I get back in the car. We're pulling away. I pull out my sandwich, and no lie, it's a burger and has everything on it, which is fine, but it had no meat patty.
So kind of the key ingredient was missing.
Yeah. And I look at Rob, and I was like, there's no meat on this. I was riding shotgun, and he just looks at me and goes, man, that stinks. Just get it going.
Well, you got a veggie burger.
I had a veggie burger. Yeah.
That story coming from the guy that I understand. He makes jokes about you being short a meat patty, but yet I hear that you always have to help set up his phone and his TV because he had no knowledge about that stuff. So is that true?
Oh man, yeah. So this is how much I love Rob. So Rob would call me and he would be like, "Hey, I got a new DVD player. I can't set it up. Will you help me?" And mind you, it's not like I live 5 minutes away from Rob. It was like a 45-minute drive, 30 to 45-minute drive. And I was like, okay, Rob, I'll go over there and set it up. So I drive over there, and sometimes I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't like get upset with him or anything like that, but it was literally like red plug to red plug, white plug to white plug.
I laugh, but I'm the same way.
Like I would just do it, or sometimes it'd just be like one single cable. It's like, okay, this goes to the TV player, this goes to the TV. So yeah, or like if he had trouble with his guide on his DirecTV, like I'd go over there and I'd, you know, talk to him about like how to run the remote on his DirecTV or something like that. So, yeah, but I just always do it, man, because you know I love the guy and I'm always able to have the time and do it for him. So why not, man?
Especially when it's an electrical problem.
Hey, Daniel LaRussa, thank you for coming on the show. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button to help boost those numbers up, help keeping this Huge Pop Wrestling podcast going. So I got a question. I've waited all day to ask this question.
Ask away.
Is it true that you've been on a double date with Chuck Norris?
Oh my goodness. How did you know about that? So yeah, one time it was the whole double date thing's a joke, but essentially a friend of mine asked me to go see a movie with her, right? So midday we shoot over this movie theater, and it must have been 10 o'clock in the morning, like it was early. And the movie was called The Hitcher. I remember it.
Okay.
And there was only 4 people in the movie theater. It was me and my friend, and then Chuck Norris and his wife.
No way.
And so whenever we left, I told my friend Stephanie, I was like, Stephanie, if this was a date, this would have been a double date with Chuck Norris.
So that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, very
I thought
true.
it was some kind of rib thing that I was going to ask you. I was like, okay.
No, like I went to go see a movie with a friend of mine, and it was just me, her, and then Chuck Norris and his wife. And then we left after the movie. We left, and I just like, hey, nice, you know, hey, how are you? And he's like, good, how are you? And I was like, I didn't know what to say, Chuck Norris, but yeah.
It's Chuck Norris. He don't have to say nothing.
No,
Where did that come from?
I can't remember who told me that. One of it was either Justin or it was either Rob, so I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I want to hear more of these questions.
Okay.
Man.
This one is pretty cool. This one probably got my heart, and it's I want to keep this for almost last. The greatest night. The greatest night that we have ever had together was in Nigeria, when 500 people came forward and got saved in one night in broken down soccer stadium. It was you and Rob Vaughn standing together and witnessed this miracle together. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So in Nigeria, Rob had kind of set the expectation that everyone would have an opportunity to speak, right? We had a lot of shows, and he said, "Hey, I want you to speak at one of these nights," right? And I was like, "Okay." And I'd never spoken before, and so every night I'd pray about it and I think about it, and I think kind of in the back of my mind, I kind of wanted the whole time to speak about doing things to kind of make Jesus come off his throne and kind of, applaud you and just doing, the right things and things like that. But kind of throughout the time that we were in Nigeria, it's kind of a hard concept to grasp, but there was we visited these boys at orphanages, and we were told hey, thanks for coming. This is the only time these boys ever feel loved, right? And I was like, man, how does someone not experience love? And so I just remember we were traveling to the venue, and I felt like God really put it on my heart to just speak about how much he loved the people, right? And so we finished our show, and it was a rowdy crowd. There was a lot of people. I mean, it was so crowded that when we were getting ready for a show, there was people that would come try to meet us in the tent, which is kind of awkward. But yeah, we did our show, and then I was just speaking about just how much God loved us, and he sent his only son to die on the cross, not only for me but for you. And I just felt man, God just really took over and called an audible. Didn't want me speaking about these people don't know Jesus. They just want to know that God loves them, Mm-hmm. And I'll always remember just seeing people crying and giving themselves to Jesus, and Rob's just looking at me wow, we could give each other man, this is amazing. I mean, there was even a mom that was wanting to know Jesus while she was breastfeeding her child, and it's man, I'm just blown away. I just remember being so scared going in there, because I remember there was a lot of these posters around, and they would always be about Christian conventions and things like that. But going to the venue, I saw a lot less of these posters, of these Christian posters. So I knew we were going into somewhere where there was a little bit more Muslim and a little bit more, a little bit more different. So I just felt like God taking over. And I remember getting back to the tent and JT just going, Albert, I've never heard you so firm. I've never heard you so bold like that. And I'm I didn't feel like I was so bold. I felt like God was taking over. And just kind of hearing JT kind of just saying wow, just the way you were speaking. And it was just kind of it was amazing. I will always tell this story for the rest of my life.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
You said it was about what, 500 people almost, or?
There was at least 500 people. There was a lot of people. I remember leaving too, and people were next to the van, and they were and just so happy that we were there. And then just kind of even a couple of years later, there was a lot of crime and just a lot of violence in that area too. I just thinking back on it, I was oh man, I'm so glad that we were able to kind of make that before the violence. So
yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I took a week off, and you have that itch. I asked this question because I know a wrestler in the independent scene, Damian Wayne, is out there, and he retired about 3 months ago, but he's back. Did he say? He'll say it's the itch. I just can't. You say you can go away from it, but you really can't. Is that what you're going through right now in your life? Is, hey man, I've been doing this. I get it. I want to be with my family, but I want to do this too.
I think so. I think that's why a couple times throughout this, show, I've said, like, I don't want to say I'm retired. Yeah, I just always have, just like, and mine may be a little bit different than Damon, but it's like I just have this itch to serve right with the CWF. I mean, if I go back and Rob wants me to kind of sell T-shirts, and I'm more than happy to sell T-shirts, bound. If I just, if you want to go in there and speak, or just talk to the boys and things like that, I just got to find this balance and things like that. So, yeah, I definitely have this passion to serve.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Rico, you have anything else, man?
Didn't you have a couple from the guys? I didn't want to take up more time away from
guys from CWF.
Yes.
No, that they gave me. That's all they gave me.
So I was going to ask you then, like while you were doing the CWF, was there any time that you kind of like you felt like you wanted to go to another company or anything, or you just always wanted to be with CWF?
I always wanted to be with CWF. I just remember, there was times that people were like, you should submit your videos to WWE, or, you should go work, maybe when CWF is off, try to work some other shows. But I always felt like I was in a really good place and a really good balance. And I've been in locker rooms before that were not a good place to be in. Just like so uncomfortable to be in, just kind of the way that I was living and things like that. Just and maybe I could have spread, the gospel a little bit more in those locker rooms. Who knows? But I always felt like the only place I wanted to be at that time. I think like right now, if there's like another company that wanted me to do like a one-off with a wrestling referee or thing like that, maybe I would do it to help, maybe if I knew someone there to help them out. But at that time, I was in a good spot with the CWF, and I was always busy with them, and so.
I got you.
So who on the roster during the show is a thorn in your side? Who is the one that doesn't follow the rules that you've had the most problems with?
The most problems, I would say, JT, when he was a heel. He would really rile up the crowd. The Dark Circle, so Tim Storm and Adam Asher, APOC. Okay. They would really be a thorn in my side as well. And then just those heels, man. Sometimes when they go over the top, like it's just kind of like it's like riding that balance of, are you gonna make me look dumb, or are you gonna
like they're doing too good of a job?
Yeah.
Do you ever go through your mind, oh man, I can't mess this up? What they're gonna say if I mess it up, if I miss something?
No, I don't think, like, I think the only time that I ever kind of got real nervous is a lot of, I don't know why I used to get nervous at this, but like whenever they would call a spot where like someone would come in and they would hit someone with a belt, and then like I'd be just like distracted, I would always have this, not a big fear, but a little bit of fear of turning around at the wrong time. And I was always afraid that I would see something, and if I see something, I gotta call it, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always had that fear of okay, this timing needs to be perfect for it to do this. the first time they ever called a spot too, where people would come in and hit their finishers, and then it would end up with the person going on top doing their finisher. The first time I ever did that I was kind of nervous because it was so much like chain and so much to remember. But once I did it that first time, like, we'd run that spot a couple more times, and it just kind of became like second nature, and it was easy. So anytime that like Tim or Dennis would kind of put together a match or things like that, man, they put together some good matches, and it was always easy to follow.
Okay.
But it's funny you say that, like, because I've watching a match and you see someone coming, and I'm like, man, what happens if the ref just accidentally turns around at the wrong time? Like, he's got to call it because he's got to do his job.
He's got to call it, or else everything's just kind of doesn't make sense, right? So there goes my credibility. And so, actually, like when I'm the only ref, like for the whole night, like I got to maintain that credibility of I need to be a good ref. If I'm a bad ref in the first match, I got 3 more matches, and hey, this ref isn't going to see anything. This ref is not going to do a good job. So,
well, guys, it's been my pleasure hanging out with you again, Rico. I hope you feel better. You've been a little bit under the weather. It's always good to talk to guys from CWF. Albert, again, another one that we call you friend, man. You have absolute no idea. I don't. Well, you probably do, but CWF is a thing that's going to be missed. I think we're running to the end of it in February. So. But we will continue staying in contact with you guys. You guys are an amazing group of people. Hopefully, we'll get down to meet you guys sometime. I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to come on and share your stories and your thoughts and stuff about wrestling and about Jesus and your stuff like that. I appreciate that a whole lot.
Thank you.
Huge Pop Wrestling fans, prepare yourself for a week full of wrestling talk. We have another show Wednesday night. We have Beyond the Mat tomorrow. We'll be doing WrestleMania 5, 6, 7, and 8. We'll go through those, and it goes on and on. So thank you, Cody, from the back running the show. I appreciate you. Everybody at Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast fans, life. Check out CWF Rockwell, CWF West Texas. They're on YouTube channel. Keep on following Huge Pop Wrestling on YouTube. Albert, where can people find you, man?
They can look at me on Facebook. If they want to see, my day-to-day life, they want to see my boys play baseball and their clips and my daughter's cheerleading. Yeah, more than happy to join that journey with me. Yeah.
It's been another Huge Pop Wrestling moment tonight, and I appreciate it. Wrestling with Purpose, Huge Pop Wrestling, we're out.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house!
Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the